Welcome to today's live session with Teach South Africa. Today we'll present about urban change applications. Thank you for joining us. So we'll share the recording of this, especially those ones who are not able to join. Welcome everybody. So Teach South Africa was set up a few years ago. We had the launch in the year 2019, and we've been working with the partners across the continent to empower the greater natural resource management. Digital South Africa uses the Open Data Cube technology, and we are powered by Amazon Web Services. So provide this satellite data to enable greater development, tracking of natural resources, and the satellite data from free data sets in analysis ready format. And we have been working very much to support the greater sustainable development challenges, SDGs, as well as support different indicators as much as possible. So this is possible through the partnership with the partners in the continent, as well as the continental services that have been developed. There's been a lot of validation with the partners across the continent. And you're able to access the Digital South Africa platform through the Digital South Africa map, the sandbox, as well as web map services in your GIS software. In today's application, we are going to provide a summary of some of the examples in urban change detection, also urban index comparison, as well as world settlement footprint. In the first one, looking at urban change detection, Digital South Africa was able to develop the Continental Sentinel-2 annual geomaps, which are cloud-free, and we have them from the year 2017 all through 2023, and we add them every year, and it provides the opportunity to give the baseline of some of the comparison as well. And Digital South Africa also went ahead also to do the same for the Landsat as well. But now with the Sentinel-2 GeoMat has been possible to be able to provide changes in urban extent. Initially, we're using the normalized difference built-up index. Later on, we adopted the enhanced normalized difference impervious services, as we had some of the services are quite difficult to predict as well. And this one, we've been able to work different partners. So we have our notebook in the sandbox. And this is the typically in your real world examples, you're able to access the urban change. It just requires your intervention in terms of changing the area of extent. And you are able to provide the timelines. So this is an example of Johannesburg. Looking at the year 2017 all through 2021. We could also do the same all through the year 2022, and it gives you an idea of what has happened the last 5 years, looking at the growth of the city and the enhanced development index in DC. We're able to see the changes, some of the areas which have actually grown around the suburbs, especially. And then we're able to provide some thresholds, and we're able to come up with the urban area, as you can see. And then we're able to compute in terms of kilometers squared, how much has changed and to what direction. And also, this is just some preliminary results, and we've been working with partners to actually see that they're able to do some validation. And we had previous engagements with the city of Johannesburg, who are also exploring this tool for the different cities, looking at the areas which have changed over time, especially the suburbs, etc., and also other crowdsourcing opportunities that are there, so that we can provide fit for purpose data. So in this showcase, for example, looking at the city of Johannesburg, these were the coordinates and the buffer zone, and looking at a difference of 2 years. Then we could also do the same for the city of Nairobi in Kenya, just at the equator, looking at the changes all through 5 years, what has happened. And also below here, there's a small imagery from Landsat, looking at Landsat 5, 7, and 8. We can see how the scenario was in the years before. And this is just the city of Nairobi, where there's a national park. So these are areas which are actually designated as parks, and areas which have grown actually around the suburbs as the city has grown over time. So it's also of interest in the continent to see how we can add in Sentinel-1 data from the European Space Agency. And with this one, we're able to provide an example where in your real-world example, we have a notebook called Radar Urban Area Mapping. And here we're able to provide with just a snapshot of what is possible. And if, first of all, you load the various packages, changing the area of your extent, and also trying to, for example, the city of Nairobi, those are the extents, and looking at possibly over a period of 1 year or two, looking also at loading the Sentinel-1 data for that particular time, and also converting this into those, polarizations, the digital numbers, as well as some filtering, so that you can be able to get more information. And once you do the more clustering, we're able to see the changes over time, and we're able to detect what was urban, similarly to what we had with optical, but we add in some validation with the European Space Agency land cover product so as to capture the classes very well. And from that, we're able to train our data to show just as in a snapshot of the accuracy of prediction of the urban area. So this one is normally case by case, especially when you have the data sets captured for the area, and trying to aim at at least 75% upwards will be something that will be useful for your research. And when we compare these two from the Sentinel-1, what we get from optical, we kind of see some convergence, especially the areas which have grown. And this is just in comparison, some people actually trying to use it so that we can get more feedback as well as part of this session, which is recorded, so that others can come in and have a feel of the tool. So Digital Africa then later on developed the Urban Index Comparison Tool, which now is able to provide some comparison with the global human settlement data. And with this one, we're able to show the example of Dakar, Senegal. So we have the normal built-up index, the indice, as well as one of artificial surface index. And also in this particular case, we're able to mask out the areas of water, that is using the water observation from space. And when you look at this comparison, it looks quite good for the built-up areas and the reference areas. So we also have the high resolution population density maps adopted from SESIN and Meta as well. And this one is just an experimental as well, because the dataset is loaded from AWS, and we have the notebook under the datasets folder, high resolution population maps. Just looking at an example of Johannesburg, for example, or we can be able to see, just clipping the data to see what is been actually within the data sets to provide us with the aggregation of population, the times of age, gender, and the youth. So this is just data which has been stored in a repository and being able to clip it for your area, looking at youth and the female, etc., etc. And the other example is to look at the world settlement footprint data, which is quite useful. Initially developed the Sentinel-1, Landsat 8, the World Settlement Footprint 2050 data has been of interest. And the World Settlement Footprint data of 2019 was able now to bring in Copernicus data on Sentinel-1 and 2. And this one has been in quite some progression, especially the team at the German Aerospace who are doing this important work. And just to show you an example, we have these datasets, as well as a notebook which helps you do this particular calculation. Just to give you a demo of the same, we have the World Settlement Footprint in your datasets folder. This is the notebook, and the workaround is just to change the extents of your study area, looking at now case of Johannesburg, we're able to get data sets of 2 different times, and also scaling this to see the difference between at least 2, 3, or 4 years. We're able to capture how the city has grown over time, and possibly also correlating to what we had initially in the urban change example using the Sentinel-2 data. So this is an example of the Johannesburg, for example, and looking at the growth over time and the change, which has been also been positive. And looking at another example of city of Nairobi in Kenya, looking at 2 years, 2015 to 2019, and seeing the growth around the suburb areas within the city. And looking at another one of the new cities, Dodoma in Tanzania, where there was quite some developments from the year 2015, 2019, with the directive of the government moving the capital to the city, and those are quite some phenomenal growth. And with the world settlement footprint, the evolution data, this one is quite dynamic because it goes back to 1985 using Landsat data. And this was very useful to see the evolution of cities over time. And in this case, in Digital Africa, we have this particular notebook, which gives you the step-by-step guide on what is on the background, and just changing the area of extent. For example, this case, we had Johannesburg as an example, and we're able to provide you with this going up to 1985 and providing you with the results, and also providing the same in terms of an animation as well as a graph, seeing how the cities have really evolved over time and how useful it is for some of our applications when we need to do some comparison and change. It will be very useful for us to compare, especially with the different examples. And also looking at other data examples, we have the case of Addis Ababa, where you can see in the 80s it was quite small, but over time it has grown to actually become the capital of Africa. Quite some developments over time. So this is giving us the historical context. And going to the example of Johannesburg, we can see also the same, the 80s, in the 90s, and in the 2000s, when there was quite a lot of development, and also the case in point of the World Cup 2010, quite some developments have been seen in Johannesburg. Digital Africa, in partnership with the Sahel Club, were collaborating on the similar example where we brought in the data sets from Africapolis, which they have done a lot of crowdsourcing for the whole continent. And looking at this, we just have some examples to look at how we can go into the Digital Africa platform and look at urban green space and also the tree cover. And this particular case, we had very good examples. And looking at the same example in the Digital Africa map, we have these data sets in our platform, showing you the 2 years. And we, in the sandbox now, we have the workaround where you're able to load the data for this particular area and compute the vegetation index and come up with the tree detection. So this one is an example for Johannesburg as well. And here, when you clip in around Johannesburg, we have other cities around as well. But now, more specifically, this is the tree cover around Johannesburg. And moving now specifically, we can see the trends over time. And with this presentation that we made to the city of Johannesburg, they told us their policies were a little bit more strict on greening. So there were areas which were set up as urban green spaces, especially with a lot of development, very useful. Then in other cities, it was a little bit different. Case in point, Kumasi in Ghana, quite big developments, a lot of trees were cut, etc. And in other city cases, there was a slight growth as well at certain times. The same partnership with the Sahel Club, we're able to show the urban green space. And in this case, we have the other example here. We can be able to capture areas which have changed over time. And we are also able to see the changes in the grassland or built up areas, which is a big case in point in most cities in Africa. Quite growth has been seen over time. And also comparing this with the European Space Agency World Cover data, we're able to see the trends as captured. For this case of Johannesburg, they were able to provide inputs about their policies on providing green space. They were really in agreement with what we were able to present. But in other cities, it's not the same because of the rapid developments, especially the case of Nairobi, where they were building a new expressway, etc., etc. So areas are still under a lot of rapid development. And also just trying to see if we could present the same, that you could access some of our notebooks in the Digital Africa as part of the direct access. This is through the Open Data Cube technology, and I'll be able to give you the link as well in the chat so that you can be able to see how you could deploy some of your notebooks either on your Google Colab or AWS SageMaker. And colleagues are working on providing the tutorial step by step so that we don't leave anyone behind, especially when we have other opportunities that you could be able to access most of this data in other platforms, etc., etc. And also in this particular case, I'll be able to show you an example of the same notebook on urban change, which we've been able to load in the direct access, and we'll add more notebooks in a few weeks so that we can give that opportunity for anyone to collaborate with any other platform, or even bring in other notebooks that you've been working on in your other platforms. So in this particular case of urban change, it's a demonstration of a city in Juba, South Sudan, looking at how it has grown over time, and the same repositories loading all the packages in your direct access. This is an example of Google Colab, where you can actually also load in your other Google Earth Engine, JavaScript file, etc., etc. So the notebooks, this field of Colab, it's giving us an opportunity to work across platforms, which is very key for the recent developments with different platforms, different notebooks, etc., etc. So this is the example of urban change, which I was able to show you. Other data sets will be added, and we continued adding this diversity for stakeholders to come on board. And also now going to the sandbox, you can see what you've covered today, just as a summary, looking at the urban change detection, urban index, high resolution words, settlement footprint, and the well as urban green space with the Sahel Club. So these are many of those opportunities. Then we have our training courses in English and French, and now more specifically giving you an example of the urban course that we have as well. And in this course, you'll see step by step that you're able to look at the urban change using the optical data. Then you also do the same using Sentinel-1. And also we have another step for machine learning, providing you with more opportunities to do your predictions. And you can check the progress of your course and your participation in the course, then you get a certificate of participation so that we leave no one behind. So also, we continue also to add more courses, and also we have these sessions in English and French. And next week it will be in French, looking at evaluation de degradation des soil, land degradation in French, and the other week will be in English. And also being grateful for partners who've been able to make this program a success, especially the funding from Australian government and Helmsy and other partners that are helping us the program grow the continent. And also thanking you for your participation so that we connect to many persons and leave no one behind.